Welcome to the bold analysis. Ladies and gentlemen, wacheni niseme kwa Kiswahili. What is really the problem? Na William Ruto hakujua kwamba atakuwa rais. I'm saying this because there are promises that he made that were just ridiculous, unrealistic, and even impossible. Today, there is a story in one of the leading websites here. Pastors demand Ministry of Christian Affairs, Ruto promised them. I've been thinking about this. Which kind of ministry is that? Even if you're to look back into the days, look through from Kenyatta to Moi to Mwai Kibaki to President Uhuru's cabinet. Did you ever see such a cabinet? And I've been wondering, which kind of cabinet is that? This is what is happening. Clerics are asking President William Ruto to honor an alleged agreement on creating a docket of Christian affairs in the cabinet. The pastors claim that President Ruto entered into a memorandum of understanding with them during the campaign where he promised to create the special docket. And of course, this story had been there. I had knowledge about it. And I was wondering whether this was here. After the cabinet, they have come out to react. And they're saying, we had an MOU with Kenya Kwanza government. Every cleric will earn respect in Kenya and ensure that the church and the clergy are protected. The Kiambu Clergy said, we want to know the fate of the MOU that was signed with our president while he was still deputy president in Karen, concerning several aspects including registration, exemption of taxes in importing, economic empowerment, and being considered as a service providers in the society. The clerics are adding. They're going to say they were speaking in Oasis of Hope Church in Kiambu. And so Rigathi Gachagua was the guarantor in this agreement. That he said, Rigathi Gachagua on the 25th September said that I took the Bible and sought to assist him. On your behalf, I will continuously remind President Ruto on our MOU with you about church issues. Even as he has many responsibilities, it is my responsibility to remind him. So according to Bishop Samuel Njiriri of Federation of Evangelicals and Indigenous Christian Churches of Kenya, the agreement between Ruto and the church features allocation of budget, appointments of various government positions. Clergymen demanded a special docket on religious affairs. And as if we thought it was a joke, they're actually telling the president that you have to obey that agreement. That's ridiculous, surely. Are we going, in this country, did William Ruto really know that he was going to be the president? Did he really expect? Because what he promised is over the moon. Such a docket doesn't exist. And even when there was that agreement, drafting of that agreement, did it involve the serious lawyers that would have told the clergy that, look here, such a ministry would not exist. And even if it's going to be created, it was going to create a lot of reactions in the public. And what about, actually it's Christian affairs, that's the ministry about. So how do you create that? We are in a secular country where we also have other religions. We have Muslims. And if you create such a ministry, what are the Muslims going to say? I'm like, they were duped. This does not exist. But it points out to something. And I analyzed this. The people that attended economic forums, signing of charters between Kenya Kwanza and women, the disability, the doctors, and so we are waiting. Quite different groups are going to raise their issues on this. But did I once analyze that these charters were not legally binding? These chasters were just roadside agreements of, they were just gentleman agreements of, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that. Ladies and gentlemen, kindly subscribe to our channel, click the notification bell, and also like our video. I'm a bit disturbed by this because it seems that Ruto just wanted power and he made declarations. I'm very sure that both the presidential aspirants had these promises, but what actually brought the agreement between Kenya Kwanza and the church was a campaign propaganda that was there, that when Ido Dinga said that such churches needed to be regulated, and of course I also want to agree that registration of the churches in this country had been a problem. Of course, the regulation was there because of the illicit relationship between the clergy and the men of the and the politicians rather. So this is something that was in the store, guys. I can say that what is bringing this conversation now regarding Gachagua, who was supposed to be guarantor of the church's stake in Ruto's government, might be going behind his boss and is pushing the men of the clergy from the Mount Kenya to ask the tough questions. And this will be employed to checkmate President Ruto, because I can tell you without fear of contradiction that there is a high likelihood, of course some of these things may not emerge now, but there is a very high likelihood that the likes of Rigathi Gachagua did not have an input, a final input on the list of the cabinet that William Ruto was appointing. William Ruto might have asked the politicians and those who are around him that on the matter of cabinet, I have a legacy and I have a plan and I want to select my dream team. So I will do it alone. So it's a possibility, because Rigathi Gachagua there was the direct link between Mount Kenya churches, evangelical churches, to William Ruto, because the wife, Dorcas Gachagua, Dorcas Rigathi, is very close to these people. Before you know, this could be an inside plan by people that are around President, and I want to point out Rigathi trying to checkmate his boss. It's a possibility. Number two, President Ruto is using divide and rule to manage the church expectations. There also is a Hope Church that was speaking in Kiambu. There is the ones from Nakuru. They are the ones from the other parts of Mount Kenya. And you never know, maybe the people that have been named in that cabinet that might be close to some members, some clergy members who are close to President Ruto. That is a very big possibility. So, President Ruto might have really designed, because you cannot please all, you can get some one or two who are vocal and give them the meat. So those who meet, you don't give them the cabinet slot, but at least you give them something. So that those who miss are the ones that are now asking Ruto, what is the fate of that? There are things I've seen there that can't happen. They can't be paid salary, surely. Hey, bana, tumetoka huko bana. Hawezi lipwa hiyo pesa. Tusidanganyane. Hawezi lipwa salary, you know. And there is no rationale of also of exempting you, as in service providers. Okay, fine, it's true you are service providers, but yeah, jamani. Okay, let's just, because there's freedom of worship, wacha kila mtu tu aombe, but you can't say that now you have to be paid a salary. That doesn't exist. Now, the men of the cloth are hypocritical. This is judgmental. That's sorry to say, because they have been moving from one government office to the other, praying for government. When Ruto was going to parliament, you know, they overdone their prayers during inauguration. And I remember Sabina Chege taking an issue with that. Some Kenyans really raised issue with that exaggeration, that over praying. There is something called over praying, but it was overdone, being that was a state function. And they have infiltrated the state offices and state functions by the guise of dedicating the government in the hands of God. That spiritual posturing in before the cameras that they want people to believe, but that is not it. They actually want rewards. And this will be so much, this will be so judgment. This will not be the best way, because if you really want, you really mean well, you want to, you mean well for Ruto's government. What would you want? If you've been praying, really, you've been praying unataka Ruto has succeeding, why would you want such kickbacks? Then it means that the relationship was just symbiotic. Guys, church engagement with Kenya Kwanza was just spiritual posturing and branding. But maybe President Ruto did a post-election evaluation and realized that this group did not have tangible votes. But then you can people who, and this will be to Mount Kenya, listeners from Mount Kenya, this is where the church script was highly written and implemented. Do you think that the votes that William Ruto got were, in terms of percentage, what kind of percentage was influenced by his relationship by the men of the cloth? Maybe they've done that evaluation and realized that, look here, these people are not such much. And the initial plan could be that they were not to be used to not only to get votes, but they will just boost the sanity. Remember, campaigns were mad with a lot of name calling and negative profiling of politicians and characterizations of William Ruto. He was called all sorts of names in the campaign trail. And to make sure that the tags of thief, land grabber, killer, murderer, all this, to make sure that those tags do not sink and do not influence the voter. The shrewd William Ruto went for the men of the clergy and now dedicated everything to God. And could also be that whether if there was a dirty business that was to hand them over power, what would then water down, because there are people that are out of the church, what will water down is posturing to Kenyans that, okay, this government was installed by God. And that is why, because if you ask me, the cabinet were given on different scenarios. Number one, on the votes and loyalty. And Ruto will give loyalty to politicians and the votes brought by politicians, but not the clergy. Could be that will not be the next front in the next general election. Or even he's going to seek, he's feeling like, I'm not going to take that direction. And that breakup is there. People need to manage well. And I can say that if Mount Kenya is not well managed, if the President Ruto do not manage Mount Kenya, I can tell you Kalonzo Musyoka should prepare. He should prepare in 2027 to present a candidature. And who knows, with the great power behind Uhuru One, the Matiangis, the Wamalwa, the Railas, and that team behind a ticket in 2027, the list is a rerun. No one is going to have a clean run. You may get to have a one-term president. It's possible. US did that. That's my bold.